The disappearance of Brittany Gregory left the town of Brick Township in disbelief, sparking a tragic investigation that would uncover dark secrets and a heartbreaking story of betrayal. Brittany Gregory, a 16-year-old from Brick Township, New Jersey, was the youngest of 5 siblings. After her parents divorced, she lived with her father Joe Dunn, but stayed in touch with her siblings, especially her older sister Brianna, who was 4 years older. Brittany was a bright student with a passion for forensic science. She often watched crime shows and would call her mother Deborah and discuss them afterward. As the youngest in the family, she was often pampered, but she stayed humble despite the attention. For her 16th birthday, she convinced her mother to let her get a belly button piercing, and she was a big fan of pop star Britney Spears. In 2004, Brittany and her elder sister Brianna lived with their father and his girlfriend Lori Peterson in a small house near their school. Brittany had been dating 18-year-old John Fitzgerald for nearly 2 years, and their relationship was supported by her family. They were seen as the perfect couple. On Sunday, July 11, 2004, Brittany's mother and her sister Brianna drove to South Toms River to visit her older brother and his wife, who had just had a baby. At about 8:30 p.m., Brittany called her mother on her cell phone, sounding upset. She asked her mother for a ride to her boyfriend John's house. Since Deborah was out of town, she told Brittany that Brianna could pick her up in about an hour. Brittany agreed and said she would wait for her. About 45 minutes later, Brianna was free and called Brittany to check in, but there was no answer. Brianna assumed that Brittany was either asleep or that someone else had given her a ride to John's house. Brianna thought nothing more of it, but when she returned home the next morning, she found that Brittany was missing. Brittany's belongings, including her phone, were still at the house, which was unusual. Brianna wondered if Brittany had stayed at John's house, but it felt strange that she hadn't told anyone and had left her phone behind. Brianna called all of Brittany's friends, but no one had seen or heard from her. She then called John, who said he last spoke to Brittany on Sunday morning but hadn't seen her since. Brittany's father's girlfriend, Lori Peterson, who lived with them, said she returned home around 10 p.m. on Sunday and Brittany wasn't there. Brianna became more concerned and went to the police station to report Brittany missing. Initially, the police didn't take her concerns seriously, thinking Brittany had run away or was simply spending time with friends. However, Brianna convinced the officers that this wasn't like Brittany, as she had already called all of Brittany's friends and spoken to John, and no one knew where she might be. The police then began to take the situation more seriously and started their investigation. The police first checked Brittany's room for clues. They found her purse, phone, ID, and makeup left behind. Nothing seemed out of place. They questioned everyone who lived in the house but didn't find any leads pointing to foul play from those close to Brittany. Next, the police searched the area around the house, asking neighbors if they had seen anything unusual. The house was at the end of the street, near a wooded area. The police interviewed Brittany's family, teachers, and friends, all of whom spoke highly of her. They described her as a responsible, well-behaved young woman and an honor student who was dedicated to her studies, often spending most of her time in the library. However, Brianna mentioned that Brittany and her boyfriend John had been arguing a lot recently, which made her upset. On the day Brittany went missing, they had another fight. She had planned to visit him that night to make up with him. This new information added a layer of complexity to the case, and the police focused on this as a possible lead. Investigators focused on Brittany's boyfriend to see if he knew anything about her disappearance. He told them that their last conversation was on Sunday morning, when Brittany was upset because he went to the beach without her. They argued, and John revealed that they had broken up recently due to rumors that Brittany had kissed another guy. Although John seemed concerned about her disappearance and passed a lie detector test, he didn't know she was coming to his house that night. However, he did mention that Brittany often took a path through the woods behind her father's house to reach his place. This led the police to search the woods, but after 3 days, they found no clues. Just when the investigation seemed stalled, a woman came forward saying she had seen a distinctive Chevrolet pickup truck near the park around the time Brittany went missing, and also remembered the number plate of the vehicle. The truck was registered to 23-year-old Anthony. the ex-boyfriend of Brittany's sister Bobby Jo. Bobby Jo explained to detectives that she ended her relationship with Anthony about a month before Brittany's disappearance. She had become uncomfortable with his jealousy and the way he seemed overly focused on her younger sister, Brittany. She also mentioned that she had started to suspect that Anthony might have romantic feelings for Brittany, which ultimately led her to cut ties with him completely. Brittany's friends recalled that Anthony often acted strangely around her, making flirtatious advances. The last time they saw him was during a lunch where he attempted to flirt with Brittany again. Based on this, detectives grew suspicious of Anthony's involvement in Brittany's disappearance and brought him in for questioning. Anthony, however, denied being anywhere near Brittany's home at the time. He claimed he was near Brittany's house only the next day, when the police began searching for her. He said they were friends, insisting there was no romantic involvement, despite rumors. Anthony also stated he was home that night with his new girlfriend, who confirmed his alibi. Still, the police remained suspicious because his house was close to Brittany's. As the investigation continued, authorities grew concerned that Brittany might have been considering harming herself, especially after reading a letter she had written to her ex-boyfriend John. But her parents rejected this theory, believing Brittany was too strong-willed to give up on life over a breakup. The police, running out of leads, reached out to the public for information. Brittany's parents also joined the search, going door to door in the neighborhood. However, they found no answers. The police then revisited Brittany's room, where they found a crucial piece of evidence, her personal diary. Inside it, there was a letter in which Brittany described her troubled family life, including how her mother was addicted to substances and how she left her when she was just 9 years old. Also, she mentioned about her strained relationship with her father and his girlfriend who she was now living with. She mentioned that she visited her older brother in jail every Sunday and acknowledged her imperfections and the mistakes she had made, but expressed a strong desire to break free from her past. Brittany dreamed of becoming a forensic scientist and dedicating her life to solving crimes, determined not to follow in the footsteps of her parents. The discovery of this diary led the police to broaden their suspect list to include Brittany's family members. Further investigation uncovered that Lori Peterson, Brittany's father's girlfriend, was running an unlawful massage service at home, providing intimate services. Lori herself was open about her activities, often handing out business cards in the neighborhood. Neighbors reported that many men came to the house, often using substances, creating a toxic environment. The police wondered if one of these men might have kidnapped Brittany. A week after Brittany's disappearance, the police made a breakthrough. They arrested Jack Fuller Jr., a close family friend who had attended many gatherings with Brittany's family. Brittany's mother, Deborah, was shocked when she saw Jack's mugshot on the news, unable to believe he could be involved. He was Deborah's longtime friend, and his daughter was married to her son, who was in jail. Jack's children also were good friends of Brittany's. Jack was arrested for murder, despite Brittany's body not being found. This left the family in disbelief, still holding out hope that Brittany was alive. Fuller, a man with a long history of crime, had caused trouble in his Howell neighborhood for years. He had broken into cars and houses, sold substances, and even threatened someone with a baseball bat. He had been arrested many times, mostly for theft and parole violations, and had served time in prison. Brittany's parents thought he might steal for substances, but never believed he would harm their daughter. The police made the connection between Fuller and Brittany's disappearance after receiving an anonymous call. The caller said that a few days before, Fuller had told him he was having back pain from burying a girl's body in sandy soil. He even asked how deep to bury it so animals wouldn't find it. Fuller also said the spot would never be discovered. The police decided to have the informant meet with Jack Fuller, hoping he would confess to Brittany's disappearance. The informant wore a listening device, and during their conversation, Fuller admitted to burying a girl's body in a remote spot where it would never be found. But he never mentioned who the girl was. He also hinted at needing to kill his friend Tommy, who was with him at the time. The police knew Tommy must have information, so they brought him in for questioning. At first, Tommy denied knowing anything, but when the police played a recording of how Tommy would be Fuller's next target, Tommy agreed to cooperate. Tommy explained that on the night Brittany disappeared, he and Jack had been driving around, smoking substances. Then they stopped in front of Brittany's house, where Jack decided to go inside to speak with her father. However, when he entered, only Brittany was there. After a few minutes, Jack returned to the car with Brittany, and she sat in the back seat. Tommy was confused and asked what was happening, but Brittany didn't respond, only looking down. Jack then told Tommy he was going to take him home. When they arrived at Tommy's house, Tommy got out of the car, but Brittany, still in the back seat, moved to the front passenger seat. Then Jack and Brittany drove off. The following day, when Tommy saw Jack again, Jack didn't mention what had happened the night before. Instead, they stopped at a car wash, where Jack cleaned his car thoroughly, which was very unusual. The car wash worker even commented on it, but Jack snapped, telling him to mind his own business. When Tommy later learned about Brittany's disappearance, he became suspicious and confronted Jack, asking what had happened to her. Jack quickly became defensive, angrily stating he had just dropped her off, and warned Tommy not to ask again if he didn't want trouble. Tommy suspected that Jack had taken Brittany to the woods to essay her, especially since Jack had planned to visit Lori that night to use her services, but she wasn't at home. The detectives quickly focused on Jack as their prime suspect. When they went to arrest him, they found him holding a can of gasoline. It seemed like he was trying to destroy the evidence. Upon searching the car, police discovered blood, and forensic tests confirmed it was Brittany's. After learning that Jack had stopped at a car wash following his trip with Brittany, the investigators visited the location. They seized the vacuum cleaner Jack had used, and forensic experts found traces of sand mixed with blood inside. Tests confirmed the blood was Brittany's, further linking Jack to her disappearance. Despite the evidence, Jack refused to confess to Brittany's abduction and murder. He remained silent during questioning, offering no explanation. Detectives interviewed those who knew him, and many described him as unpredictable and dangerous, someone capable of doing anything. Despite being unemployed, Jack always had money, which raised more suspicions. Further investigation revealed that on the night Brittany went missing, a patrol officer had noticed Jack's car parked near the woods. At the time, no one knew about Brittany's disappearance. When the officer approached, Jack claimed he was searching for his lost dog in the woods. This information led the investigators to focus their search efforts on the area where Jack's car had been spotted. Police, along with police dogs, helicopters, and volunteers, combed the woods, but they did not find anything. Investigators thought that Brittany might have asked Jack for a ride to her boyfriend's house that night. Instead of taking her there, Jack dropped off his friend Tommy and then saw an opportunity to take advantage of Brittany. They suspected he essayed and killed her, but without finding her body, they couldn't confirm it. As the police continued to question Jack, a new witness came forward. A woman who struggled with substance addiction was once held captive by Jack for months before escaping from him. She shared that she knew Jack well and was familiar with his habits and the places he frequented. She recalled that Jack had once shown her a spot near a power line, claiming it would be the perfect place to hide a body, as no one would ever find it there. She described the location as being in Lakewood with sandy soil. This immediately caught the attention of investigators, who remembered an informant mentioning Jack's struggle with burying a body in sandy soil. The police took the tip seriously and began searching the area, which was just 3 miles from Brittany's home. After several days of relentless searching, there were still no signs of Brittany. However, the investigation continued when experts found a crucial link between the sand in Jack Fuller's vacuum cleaner and the soil from a nearby area. The match was undeniable. Over 100 people, including officers and volunteers, scoured the dense forest hoping to find any trace of the missing girl. Their efforts paid off on Tuesday morning, July 27, 2004, 15 days after Brittany disappeared. It was 3 K-9 officers from New Jersey, along with their trained dogs, who made the breakthrough during a weekend search. They uncovered Brittany's body in a shallow grave. The young girl's body was found unclothed, with a necklace bearing her name still around her neck. The discovery was a painful confirmation for the detectives. They had finally found Brittany. The medical examiner later confirmed the body's identity as Brittany Gregory's, but the exact cause of death remained uncertain. It was clear she had been strangled, and there was also evidence of head trauma, but they clarified that it was not the cause of death. He explained that the body had been decomposing for over 2 weeks, making it difficult to determine the exact cause of death. Brittany's body did not show clear signs of SA, although the medical examiner did not completely rule out that possibility. Jack Fuller, after consulting with his attorney, decided to accept a plea deal, which Brittany's family also agreed to in order to avoid the lengthy and difficult process of a trial. Brittany's mother expressed that she did not want Jack to receive the death penalty, as it would be too easy for him. Instead, she wanted him to spend the rest of his life in prison, suffering and regretting his actions. In his confession, Jack explained that Brittany had asked him to take her to her boyfriend's house, which he agreed to do. He first dropped off his friend Tommy, then planned to drive Brittany to her boyfriend. However, before they reached their destination, Jack pulled over to the side of the road and began smoking substance. This angered Brittany, who yelled at him and hit him on the arm. This caused Jack to lose his temper, and he admitted to punching Brittany in the face and head at least twice, claiming it was because she was trying to stop him from using substance. After the attack, Brittany began making gasping and choking sounds. While Fuller continued to use substance, blood flowed from her nose and mouth. When he finally looked at her again, she had stopped breathing. Realizing she was no more, he decided to dispose of her body. However, his account of events was contradicted by the medical examiner, who found signs of strangulation that Fuller hadn't mentioned. Additionally, Fuller couldn't explain why he had removed all of Brittany's clothing. The prosecution believed the motive for the crime was sexual in nature. On February 9, 2005, a grand jury in Ocean County indicted Fuller for murder. Fuller eventually pleaded guilty on October 18, 2005, to causing serious bodily injury that led to Brittany's death. On January 13, 2006, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole. In the end, Brittany's tragic death left her family shattered, their lives forever marked by the loss of a vibrant young girl with so much potential. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more true crime content. See you next time.